Those kids are trying to figure out what we are. They think we look like two giant beans. Well, I guess we do in a way, but we're not beans. We're kidneys. Kidneys. There are two of us. Everyone has two, even you. We're bigger than beans, but not too big. But we sure are important. My friend here has figured out what we look like and where we belong in your body, but he doesn't know what we do, or why we do it, or why we're so important. I'll bet you don't know either, but I'll bet we can tell you. Let us first show you a little bit more about where we live. Home is right here, under the ribs and at the back of the abdomen. We each have a tube that leads out of us, down along the back of the abdomen, and then to a balloon-like organ called the bladder. We're also connected to your blood vessels. In fact, that's what our job is all about. We keep your blood nice and clean. We act something like a filter and remove all kinds of wastes from your blood and send them to your bladder so that they can be in turn sent out of your body. The blood comes to us from every other organ in your body, your heart, your lungs, your stomach, every organ, and from every cell in those organs. The blood from millions of cells all has to pass through me and be cleaned every so often. You see, every single cell is something like a little factory. They all have work to do, and in order to do that work, they have to receive food and oxygen supplies from the blood. When they convert these supplies to energy to do their work, waste materials are produced, and the blood then carries those wastes away. The blood then brings a lot of those wastes to us. We're supposed to remove them from the blood and send them on their way out of your body. That's when we're working properly. If we're not doing our job right, if we're not removing the waste when we're supposed to, things get jammed up. Too many waste materials are left in the bloodstream. And just like a giant traffic jam, everything comes to a grinding halt. But of course, we almost always do our job right. We have to, because we're so terribly important to every other organ in your body. They all rely on us to filter your blood and to keep it clean and pure. Now, you have to understand that for a filter, we're pretty clever. You see, every single drop of your blood goes through us, constantly. We're always working. We're always taking wastes out of your blood. But since every drop of blood goes through us, used blood with waste materials as well as good fresh blood with food and oxygen, we have to be smart. We have to be able to tell the difference between food that should stay in the blood and waste that should come out. Now that's not easy, and it's a full-time job that we need help to accomplish. Lots of help, as you'll see. Help to separate the good blood from the bad blood. In fact, we get help from about 2 million nephrons. That's right, nephrons. There are about 1 million of them in each one of your kidneys. And each nephron acts like a miniature strainer. Put them all together, and they can do the job of separating and cleaning that needs to be done. Now, here's how those nephrons do it. At the beginning of each nephron, there's a little cup. And that cup then leads to a tiny bent tube. Each drop of blood that goes through me must pass those cups, and each cup catches a little bit of the liquid in the blood. The liquid caught by the cups then flows down into those tiny nephron tubes, and this is where the straining and separation process begins. The nephron tubes are surrounded by blood vessels. The blood in those blood vessels knows that it needs the food in the tubes, and it knows that it doesn't need the waste materials. So the blood is actually able to pick the good food out of the tubes, while it leaves the waste materials behind. The blood, now carrying only good food for the rest of the organs in your body, then leaves on its journey through your body, eventually to return to us again to be cleaned. Of course, that's not the end of the story. All of those wastes that are left behind in the nephron tubes have to be removed. So the tubes empty the wastes into a larger tube, and that larger tube leads them to the bladder. The bladder is really just a storage tank, a hollow organ that can be filled up. The liquid that fills it, the waste from the nephron tubes in your kidneys, is called urine once it reaches your bladder. Your bladder is constantly being filled with urine because we're constantly cleaning your blood. Every so often, your bladder becomes filled. When it's full, the muscles in its walls squeeze the urine out of your body, and then it starts slowly filling up again. Well, that's our story. It's a fairly simple one, really, but simple or not, we're important. We clean and purify your blood, and there's not too much that's more important than that. We clean the blood that comes to us from every organ in your body, from every cell in your body. Every cell takes food and oxygen, and in using it to make energy for you, every cell makes waste material. All those wastes are brought to us by the blood, the very same blood that's carrying food to all those other cells. So inside each one of us, there are nephrons, little strainers, the special little devices that separate the good from the bad. We have to have their help. Otherwise, we couldn't tell the difference between what should stay in the blood and what should come out, and we couldn't do our job. So, each nephron has a cup that catches some of the liquid in the blood and sends it down to the nephron tube. That's where the separation takes place. Each nephron tube has blood vessels next to it, and the blood in those blood vessels is able to extract the good food from the nephron tubes while it leaves the wastes behind. The wastes in turn flow out of us into larger tubes which lead to the bladder. The bladder acts like a storage tank. And since we're constantly working, cleaning the blood, the bladder is constantly filling with the wastes we've removed from the blood. These wastes are called urine. And when your bladder is full, it empties itself by squeezing the urine out of the body through a tube. Fortunately, this doesn't happen just any old time. The bladder tells the brain first that it's full and that you'd better do something about it. And from then on, it's your responsibility. So, there we are, the two of us, your kidneys. We're always working for you, cleaning your blood, and you probably didn't even know it. But that's okay. That's our job, and we do it very, very well.